Hey, it's Clint. I was on a roll last week making videos, and I feel like they were good videos. And then I kind of just stopped. And partially is because I was seeing what was going on in comics. There's all sorts of weird things to talk about, but it just, I feel like I said what I wanted to say about it essentially. To sum it all up, think about this. The past 3 weeks have been non-stopped, just anger, frustration, throwing each other under the bus, just insanity for the past 3 weeks. And it's jumped from one thing to another to another. The whole Dynamite debacle, canceling Jay Lee, everyone coming out to say Comicsgate is a hate group or a hate movement, to the whole Me Too thing a little bit earlier than that, all the sexual assault and sexual harassment claims. And then now you have everybody being very public in the industry about how much money they were making in comics or how much money they weren't making in comics. And the crazy thing, and your boy Zach brought this up in one of his videos, is that they they just had a whole bunch of new comic books come out. The industry just opened up again for business, and nobody's talking about the new comics. They're talking about, basically just they're airing grievances. That's what's going on. So the crazy thing to me is it's never ending. And I almost, what I want to do is take a step back and think, what problems, let's sit all the pros together, forget about whose team you're on, forget about Comicsgate or communism, or whatever side you land on. uh, what are the problems in the industry? The funny thing is, we could agree that many comic book creators don't get paid enough for what they're doing. That's a bit of a problem. Okay, so how do you solve that problem? If we get into what it costs to make a comic, how much you're charging to make a comic, what are some of the expenses, licensed properties, dead weight in the industry, there's all sorts of things we could go through to try and correct it, correct the course, and make sure that people are actually making a decent page rate, and therefore you're incentivizing amazing artists to work in comics, and writers for that matter. And by the way, we're just looking at the pre-launch page for Fatal right now while we're talking about this, because I don't really have anything to show on the topic. Okay, so we could agree that those are problems. But the weird thing is, it's so polarizing that if I say that there's a problem in the comic book industry with how much money people are getting paid, it doesn't financially make sense, then all of a sudden it becomes a culture war item. you know, it becomes someone like Scott Kurtz saying, no, you should only go into comics if you love comics and you don't care about the money. That's why you should be making comics full time. That's insane. I don't think it's too much to ask. So we could all probably agree on that, but we're allowing weird, cultural war to get in the way. The other problem, okay, if you take things back to diversity, and that's lately what has been coming up now, is that Marvel is not diverse actually, and that they're pushing people out of comics that are more diverse than other people. I'll put it like that. Um, let's take a step back for a moment, and let's make this not about politics or culture war. Sorry about that. Not about culture war. Okay, is there a problem? Is Marvel racist? Is it not allowing so-called people of color to work for them? Is that a problem? Is it something that they're known to do? Is it a problem with the fans? Is it you know what I'm getting at here? If we look directly at what is the problem you want to solve, and we looked at it without an ideological perspective, you could be objective about it and find out if it's actually a problem, if it's something that you're doing, or if you're going about it the wrong way. Now, if I was challenged to make a story, write a story that had not a single white character in it, it could be anything under the sun, not a single white character in it, I could write that. It would be not all that, it honestly wouldn't be all that challenging because, if you're writing something from an American perspective, uh, I mean, Americans come in all colors. So you could do that. But I have a suspicion that that wouldn't actually solve the problem. Okay. It wouldn't solve the problem for some people. Technically, it would on paper. And you probably would have better characters that people like. But ultimately, I don't believe that this is actually about diversity or showing more people, less white people, in comics. I don't think that that's actually the gripe. I think that it's that they want their ideology reflected in comics. Because every one of these sticking points, every one of these issues, if I boil it down, I can find so many examples of for example characters that are not white, that are great characters and they've been around for a long time. Okay, I can think of creators that get paid well. Okay, I can think of and basically an exception to the rule, or their so-called rule, and rather than duplicate that scenario, and say, hey, what's working with Storm? Why is Storm such a great character? What works? Okay, rather than deconstructing that character in that way and duplicating it in that way, instead, it's they're just they're saying, how can we apply our ideology to the situation? Comic creators aren't getting paid very well. How can we apply socialism or communism to this scenario to fix the problem and make it better? Uh, that in essence, I think, is the problem. I guarantee you, I know for a fact that there are people in the industry who are probably pretty left leaning, who agree with a lot of this, the problems, on a basic level. They agree. They want there to be more representation of non-white characters in comics and non-white comics creators working in comics, but they themselves have a big issue with how they're actually how those problems are addressed by Marvel. Okay. The funny thing is though, is that you cannot criticize their methods because you will be called a member of the alt right, even if that's not even remotely close. Uh, so it's just such a strange scenario. I would say, one step forward, and no one's going to listen to me. If they wanted to fix things and make things better, rather than looking at your ideology and how you ought to apply your ideology to the situation, maybe look at the problems and look for the exceptions to those problems. What is working? What do you like in comics? What makes a character so successful? What makes a successful creator that's making enough money? What makes an editor a good editor that's not sexually assaulting people? What works, and then look at that and say, how can we get more of this? What is it that works here that we can add more of? It seems so simple, but yet it has been extremely invasive to the comic book industry. They can't seem to figure it out. I hope all this makes sense. Sort of a bit of a rant, and I don't know, I'm just kind of clearing my throat and getting ready for this next week in videos. I'm gonna try and do a little bit more and do more videos. So appreciate you all listening. Sign up for Fatal. We got a ton of people signing up for the pre-launch page, so thank you very much. I think this is going to be outstanding home run. If you haven't signed up, sign up for Fatal right now. The link to this mailing list or the pre-launch page is down below. And yeah, I should be getting the books in a week or so, a week, give or take, for Downcast 2. And I'll be shipping that out and fulfilling it as soon as possible. So appreciate all your patience. Thanks for watching the videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.